Free Talk Live. We are at the third annual Forkfest here at Rogers Campground.
Yay!
Yeah, and it's actually
it's a beautiful day. It's just clear skies. It's idyllic. It's like out of a postcard here.
I give thee the lie in the throat, sir.
You can see for miles. It's so just all nice and warm. Summer fun. This is great. I got a margarita here, a Corona. It's great. I love being here at Forkfest. It's a great day.
So it is actually raining, and in fact, you could probably hear it in the background.
We're still having fun
because we're underneath the LRN.FM broadcast tent that we have this year waterproofed because last year apparently these easy up tents, as expensive as they are not actually waterproof.
And your suffering was intense.
Indeed. And so what we did was we tarped the tent. So there's a tarp over top of the tent, and that will solve the water, at least the water coming straight down issues. The water coming in from the side we can deal with. We've got tarps, and we can lower the tent and all that. But you know what? It's not uncommon to be here at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains. You can't see them right now because it's super foggy out. I mean, well, you can see some hills over there, but it's just... Vincent, I know it's your first time here. Trust me, when the sun comes out...
This is your first time?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've been to Lancaster before for Santa's Village. I went there for my mother when I was young, but this is my first time here at
right down the road.
Rogers Campground.
Yeah, it's like, I think 5 minutes from here, something like that. It's not very far.
Wow.
Yeah, what is it? Santa's Village is like a summertime kids... park? Is it like a water park?
I don't know about the water. It's basically a Christmas themed park. So like they have like actual reindeer who my mother almost cried
for sufficiently small values of theme park. I mean, we're not talking about Six Flags Over America. We're talking about a little cocktail umbrella.
Well, but that's comparing it to
Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Well, but hold on, that's comparing it to what people think of theme parks today. But back when theme parks were just starting, a lot of them were very small things like Santa's Village.
You weren't
here.
that big when you started either.
But there was they made a movie with Johnny Knoxville, but somewhere in the like Carolinas region or the South, there was like a theme park that was it was a small thing started by independent businessmen, but it was just like known for its extreme rides and things that people would get injured and everything like that. And
is that why Johnny Knoxville was in it? Because he's like falling out of rides, or
yeah. So it was a movie. It was like a fictional movie with him in it. And yeah, it was about it. It was pretty good. And I saw a documentary about it. Very interesting. The history of theme parks. So I mean, I just ask that people don't be too critical of Santa's Village because really that's like that's like how theme
You've got
parks
some good
work.
memories there from Santa's Village. So we're here at Rogers Campground, which is just a beautiful park. And we, as you pointed out earlier today, Rich, when we arrived,
have we identified ourselves yet?
No, not yet. It's Ian, Rich, and
well, I mean,
Vincent.
my accent, they probably know me.
That's Vincent.
Yes.
You're Vincent.
Yes. Bonjour.
Yep.
Hello.
You're Rich.
I'm Rich.
Yeah.
And nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
I'm Ian. Things are going to get more weird, as the week goes on, as various substances are imbibed. And one of my favorite times at this event was, I think, the first year. I had stayed up all night, the final night, and I think I took mushrooms or LSD. I think it was mushrooms, and then these guys showed up from a show called ANCAP Barbershop. It's a radio, or it's a podcast that Roger Paxton has on his little podcast network that he does, and they're like comedian, kind of super funny, good sense of humor kind of guys. Like, you weren't around, Rich, so like they were a good sit-in. So I'd wanted to meet them, and I knew
it takes 3 men to substitute for me.
Yeah, I knew that they were. I knew they were gonna be getting here that morning, like the first morning of Porkfest, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which is the event that follows this one this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about that later. And I had been up all night, and I was smoking a bowl outside of my car at like 7 in the morning. Because I wanted to stay up for the sunrise, because sometimes it's really spectacular.
I usually stay up for the sunrise here.
Sometimes they can be really spectacular. And so these dudes show up with an Alabama license plate, and I knew that they were coming up from Alabama, and I'm just sitting there, chiefing on a pipe. And they go over and they pull over nearby where I was, and so I look over and I just invite them over and say, "Hey, you want to smoke?" Like, so the first thing they did, it was their first time coming here, and so the first thing that happens to them as soon as they get out of their car is somebody offers them a pipe of some cannabis, and so we bonded it instantly. I had all my equipment for recording. It was all put away because we were done. Like, it was the first morning of Forkfest. We were done for the weekend. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to unpack the equipment. Do you guys have an hour? Let's do record a show. And so we didn't record the whole show, but we, hammered out a pretty extensive interview. So it's kind of fun, like welcoming new people in like that,
Yeah. Well, my introduction was scary. My first year, my introduction to Forkfest,
the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which is a different festival, but yes.
Yeah, but to, in general, Liberty
Similar
campgrounds in New Hampshire is, I came up on the Sunday it was supposed to start, and in those days, the organizers apparently didn't show up before the event. So they just kind of showed up, and it started when it started. So I got here at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and there was not a single Free Stater in the campground. And I had never met a Free Stater at this point. So
Free Staters are people who migrated to New Hampshire or plan to migrate to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project.
So I didn't know anybody in New Hampshire, and I'm at Rogers Campground, and they're just like, no, nobody showed up for that. And they meant nobody showed up yet, but I thought they meant nobody had showed up. And so I'm driving around Laconia thinking, what am I going to do if I go back to this thing and there's nobody there?
This was when it was held at a different campground.
Yeah, this was near Laconia. And So anyway, I drove back, and people had finally started trickling in. It was like, oh, thank God, this isn't. I thought the whole thing was vaporware.
Right. Turns out it worked out. Turns out a couple thousand people moved up here for that migration, and now there's other migrations like the Shire Society. And I think you just launched one recently, right?
Yeah, I started the Live Free or Die project. Although we're kind of. I almost consider myself at this point kind of a marketing project for the Shire Society migration. But it's just, it's just a reboot of the FSP. Because FSP Incorporated has annoyed a certain number of the Liberty lovers who wanted to move to New Hampshire, and
it's part of the reason why Forkfest exists.
Yeah, so it's like you could call it a fork of the Free State Project.
Yeah, there you go. Without all the bureaucracy.
Right, and the only difference is you're not on our blockchain until you say I'm part of it. But you can be part of us and part of the Free State Project too. We're completely friendly to them.
So could someone be part of the KKK and be part of the Live Free or Die project?
There is no organization to say at this point to say that he could not. There would just be me, and I would probably tell him to go beep himself because I don't know if we're censored or not right now.
Yeah, please don't use those words. I would have to then stop the recording and then go back and cut it out.
Or in post, you could just put a beep sound over it if you had enough time.
See, I just put the beep sound over it myself, and then I can do
self-censorship. I would volunteer some time for that, just to go through it, just for artistic sake.
We're time crunched today.
Oh, no, is that autistic sense or artistic?
Artistic.
Okay. I am an artist. I can't work like this.
So I don't know where we're going with all that. Oh yeah, the Live Free or Die project is what you were.
We were talking about Live Free or Die project. So anyway, that will have a presence outside Facebook shortly. Right now, it only exists on Facebook, but I'm slowly migrating off.
Excellent. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. There's going to be a lot of interesting people here, I'm sure. It's early. As you pointed out earlier today, Rich, when we first arrived here at about just after noon Eastern time at beautiful Rogers Campground, that we're the vanguard. We're the early the early crew, if we will, the roadies, if you will, of this festival, because there really aren't very many people here on the campground at this point. This is very, very early. It's the first day. It's raining, so if there are people here, they're probably huddled inside their tents or their RVs, or
you can't set up a tent
or hotel rooms. You could.
Not wisely.
I've set up two tents.
Yeah.
Okay,
we set this one up.
Yeah.
But you don't have to live.
The thing is, you might be wet inside the tent, but if you wrap yourself in a good sleeping bag, you'll be wet and warm and not die.
All right, so we got more coming up here from Forkfest. It's day number 1. You can come out here. We're going to be here all weekend through Monday. Go to forkfest.party to learn more about the event. We got more coming up here. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019, year number 3 of this, I think is going to be an excellent year. Just based on the buzz that's been surrounding Forkfest this year so far, there's been more people talking about it.
I've got a great buzz.
I hope so. I'm glad for you. At this point, I have not yet done that because, well, I've been doing responsible show setup stuff, and that's what we're doing right now. We're doing Free Talk Live, and we're recording Free Talk Live because, well, that's the best way to do the show on, when we're on remote like this. It's just nice to be able to do it during the day. You got people walking by, stopping by, hanging out at the tent. We can just kind of grab somebody. If there's somebody we want to interview, we can just grab them right then and just do it right then. We don't have to tell somebody, oh, yeah, Rich, why don't you come back at 9 o'clock tonight when you're 3 sheets to the wind and you're totally going to forget, right?
Yeah, because the thing is you can respond then to what the person is thinking and saying right then. Because we're all wandering around thinking weird things. I mean, especially sometimes with chemical help and sometimes just because we're weird people.
Sure.
And so, but 99% of what goes through my head is not useful. It's the ideas that, you think through it for about 55 minutes, and then in the last 5 minutes of the hour, you realize why the idea won't work.
So something that is useful for those that are trying to reach the cryptocurrency market, maybe spreading awareness of your crypto technology, you need a communications company that specializes in that field, not just your average PR firm, but one that can leverage 35-plus different brands, part of the Investor Brand Network, and more than 5,000 downstream distribution partners. The Cryptocurrency Wire combines the power of specialization with mass market reach. With their help, you can start connecting with crypto-friendly journalists and more than 1.6 million followers. Their commitment is to get the most eyes possible on your big news while it's fresh. Domestic and international, they reach 56 different countries and can provide translation services as well. If your company is an important, relevant newsmaker, you need someone that specializes in the field to get your message heard. CryptocurrencyWire.com. And we have used them here at Free Talk Live. It's cryptocurrencywire.com. And you can hear in the background, I think, Vincent, you did successfully kill the mosquito with the mosquito rackets.
It's dead, Jim.
Yep. Well, I suspect there will be more. One of the things that's nice about Rogers Campground is there really aren't that many mosquitoes here. You'll notice this over the weekend.
There's no large body of water for them to
Not
breathe
after
from.
we've been here.
Well,
Libertarians show up armed.
Well, and there was
Varanzo's keeping them down, right?
Well, I mean, just generally what they do is they mow the lawns here, the campground, pretty effectively, and so there's not a whole lot of grass for ticks and things like that, and it's actually a pretty bug-free, all things considered. There's going to be bugs here, right? Like there are going to be mosquitoes.
Right.
You definitely don't want to forget your mosquito repellent or whatever. But having these rackets, I remember one year, I think it was Amish Paul went out and he got a bunch of those rackets at the Big Lots store, or they call them job lots up here. But
Ocean State job lot.
He went and he bought a bunch of those things at like $5 a piece, and then came here and I think he was getting $20 for one of those rackets. And
that's a racket in itself. I might emulate.
It's
him.
It's a good one. I actually did it one year and sold them for 10. Just doubled the money, and it's convenient. People need it right then. They don't want to leave the campground. And he literally sold like a shopping cart full of those bug rackets here. Yeah. And so having
that's not a bad plan. 15, 2 for 20.
Yeah, having armed, like you said, people armed with the bug rackets is, I think, helpful.
Yeah, it's neighborhood effects.
Exactly.
Anytime you produce, you make when you're doing positive things, you're reducing the entropy of the world. Then you make the world better for the people around you without even giving a damn about that.
It looks like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say, Ian, I'm so glad you brought that up because
bug rackets.
Well, yeah, that story because of, showing to say a free market at work, agora market at work, and that it's important for people who are coming who haven't gotten here yet, who are on the way listening to, or just even here already, to bring plenty of money and cryptocurrency with them because there's going to be independent vendors, right, selling food here and accepting cryptocurrency and using the currency of peace. And, if you want to stop these federal wars, you got to stop using their money. So
that's true.
Bring cryptocurrency here and buy from Matt Roach and Vincent Freeman here.
You're cooking. You're going to be cooking with Matt Roach.
Yeah.
That is a my church finds that very important, that you don't trade in the coin of your enemy. Because when you trade in somebody's coin,
you're empowering them.
Yep. Exactly. You're saying, these people have value for me, and the dollar does not have value for me. So I brought about $800 that I'm going to sacrifice to the crypto gods while I'm here at festival, and I'm going to be. I'm moving toward a fully crypto lifestyle.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
I know that there are other people who've done that. Joel Valenzuela from Dash Force News, he has gone completely crypto, shut down his bank accounts, completely has gone outside of that system, and that's how he lives his life. Now,
Dash, I think, right? Is Dash only?
I don't know if he's Dash only, but he's certainly like a Dash guy. So I think he probably tries to use as much Dash as possible.
Which is what our stand will accept. Actually, we'll accept Dash, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash.
Well, it's funny. We have these Bitcoin ATM machines,
Bitcoin vending machines,
Bitcoin vending machine. Yeah. But it would be really easy to just print up T-shirts that say human crypto vendor.
Sure.
And just walk around selling the stuff. And the nice thing about that is the more decentralized it is when you get into crypto, the more likely your anonymity is to be preserved. And I don't like having government eyes on me, and I know none of us
definitely
do.
Not.
And
I actually had a crypto-related story, and you do too, Vincent, one about John McAfee. So, we can continue the crypto discussion as well, but I'm glad you brought up the idea of this sort of the agora, this that's a Greek word for marketplace, and that people will be selling things here at Forkfest, and they will not be asking permission from any government goons to sell. And this is sort of like, for listeners that are unfamiliar, if you're just tuning in to Free Talk Live, you don't know what any of this is about. We're at Forkfest. It's a third-year libertarian camping event. There's voluntarists, there's anarchists, people that love freedom are here. And this event came it forked, if you will, off of the Porcupine Freedom Festival. That is, I believe, in its 16th or 17th year this year, has been around for a long time. And the Porcupine Freedom Festival became, many years ago, it was like the world's first kind of crypto temporary community that came together, and people were selling tacos for crypto. People were selling, you name it,
what
bowls.
Year are you talking about, though?
This would have been like 2012, 2013.
See, 2012, there was no crypto to speak of here. Wasn't it like 2014 when we were?
Okay, maybe
because it was the year that
Roger
I was
Beer
in
came
jail.
here in 2012. And you went to jail in 2012.
Yeah,
I went to jail in 2012?
Yeah.
It only took me 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I was thinking that was 2014.
Well, we can talk more about it here. Time flies, but we can continue here from Forkfest 2019. You can go to forkfest.party as the wind is kicking up a little bit here. We may actually end up, I think we should probably lower the tent just a bit just to protect the equipment as much as possible, because it's fun to broadcast outside, but we are in the middle of a bit of a precipitation. This is Free Talk Live. We're going to continue here from Rogers Campground at Forkfest 2019.
Are you concerned that liberty, free market economics, and the values that made America great are no longer taught in schools? Well, so am I. So I got my son the Tuttle Twins children's book series.
My name is Jack, and I'm 11 years old, and I just started the Tuttle Twins. So far, I have learned that some people can use the government to ruin the economy and destroy people's businesses.
Give all the young people in your life a chance at reason and clear thought, because they're not going to get it at school. There are 9 books in the series, and each one teaches a set of ideas that children aren't getting elsewhere. Go to TuttleTwins.com and use coupon code FTL to get 40% off. Again, that's TuttleTwins.com.
It's Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019, year number 3. We're kind of just generally talking about these events, and Rich, you and I, we go way back on these libertarian camping festivals here in New Hampshire at beautiful Rogers Campground. It is a little bit of a rainy day here today, but actually it does seem to have lightened up a little bit, even though we just brought the tent down. It's now, I guess it was just a gust of wind earlier, but either way, we're here and broadcasting outside. We were talking about the marketplace here at the campground, which at this point I don't think anybody's selling anything quite yet, but I know my roommate actually, Matt, is coming up, and you guys are going to team up and sell some delicious food items. And
he tried to sell me some ganja earlier, so
right
trade
on.
has begun.
It's already happening. That's good. And he was just cooking all last night in preparation for this. And I know that there's been at least a few other people who have announced that they're going to be selling food here this year. So that's going to be that's going to be better than last year, where there was like one guy doing breakfast. And so it's going to be a lot more. I think food is going to be available here, and people are not going to be asking government permission, which is, I think, one of the best parts about this. Nobody's got their little permit or whatever. There's no permit. I'm sure the government would love for you to get a permit, but
my entrepreneurial strategy this year is, last year there were too few food vendors, and that was an issue. But my prediction is that this year there will be either just the right number or too many.
There may be too many.
So I'm basically hanging fire with cash in my pocket, and then when I figure out what people don't have, run down to Walmart and get enough for 200 people, and then see if I can find 200 people who want it.
And you did also touch on the idea that there are a lot of folks who are willing to accept cryptocurrency. Now, something that
I prefer cryptocurrency. I will give you a discount if you trade with me in crypto.
Now, something that didn't happen on previous years, at least prior to the last few years, because AnyPay didn't exist until 2017, was it was harder to accept crypto because you had to have a wallet, and accepting crypto with a wallet's a little more clunky. I mean, it can be done, but it takes a few more steps. The folks over at AnyPay.global have made it super easy to accept cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Dash, Zcash, Bitcoin Cash, and several others. You can go to helpmetakebitcoin.com, and they will walk you through the very short setup process. It is nowhere near as difficult as you might be thinking it is to accept cryptocurrency. Even if you're starting from zero, if you've never had any cryptocurrency before, it's super easy to do. Just follow the steps at helpmetakebitcoin.com. And I heard the AnyPay guys will be showing up today, so I haven't seen them yet.
Yeehaw.
But if we see them wandering by, we're definitely going to grab them today or tomorrow as soon as we can get them in.
So, did we ever find out, is there going to be a big gay dance party at Forkfest?
Yes, there is.
All right.
Yeah, it's happening on Monday night. So if you are listening to this broadcast and you plan to come up here, or if you have not yet planned but you want to, you've got time to get here. It's going to, like I said, this is going on throughout the whole weekend. Monday is the last day of Forkfest, and that's the day for the Big Gay Dance Party. And I should say the return of the Big Gay Dance Party, because the last year it happened was 2015 at the Porcupine Freedom Festival.
And that was when it was Buzz's Big Gay Dance Party. This is going to be Derek J. and
Steven from AnyPay.
I never remember whether to say Steve or Steven, so...
I think he would answer to either one, but I believe he goes by Stephen.
Oh, okay.
So go to helpmetakebitcoin.com and you'll learn how to get started taking cryptocurrency. Vincent, if you're freezing to death, you don't have to sit out here.
No, I'm doing exercising. I'm doing core exercises, yeah. Doing core exercises.
Because it is like 56 degrees out here right now. It is. It's pretty cold out here.
Well, I mean, it's cold for, June.
Yeah, but
Even
it's not
here.
the summertime yet, right? Like, we're in New Hampshire, and we're in northern New Hampshire, so it's even colder here than it would be, let's say, in Keene, where we normally do the show today. And but that's, you know what? Tomorrow the sun could be out. We don't know.
A busload of brass monkeys leaving town.
The brass monkeys from pirate ships?
You mean people who couldn't handle the cold?
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
Flatlanders.
So here we are. We're at Rogers Campground. You can go to forkfest.party to learn more about the event, and it's definitely not too late for you to come up and join us here. But yeah, cryptocurrency, I think that would be a really cool thing if this event became the key kind of crypto camping event like the Porcupine Freedom Festival used to be, because from what I've heard, Rich, now I haven't been to the Porcupine Freedom Festival.
Forkfest is to Porkfest as anarchy is to minarchy. So, it's if you want the anarchist experience is at Forkfest these days.
This is the one that's more like the original Porcupine Freedom Festival, because the original Porcupine Freedom Festival was much less organized. It was much more kind of people did whatever they wanted to do, and now it's more of a centrally controlled event.
And as soon as you have a central controlling authority, that authority is literally required by law to tamp down your event to legal standards. And to the extent that they cave to that, they're going to make less of a fun event. And so the best thing is, like, when I do the 420 rally and the police show up and say, who's in charge here? I say, nobody's in charge here. It's anarchy, dude.
They don't know how to handle that.
They don't, because they don't know who to write the ticket to.
Well, and they're
it's just a bunch of people, and generally what any individual is doing isn't. Oh, good Lord!
It's a cloudburst.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
But no, they're not used to it because their organizational structure and every organizational structure they've ever known has always been top down. Somebody's in charge. Somebody needs to tell me what to do, and that's how the police operate. So, of course, when they show up at a thing, they're like, all right, who's in charge? Because they want to talk to whoever it is that is in charge, because that's their how they understand the world. And when you say something like what you're saying, well, nobody's in charge. There's nobody here that's in charge, whatever. They don't know what to say to that. We used to have a joke a long time ago in Keene. This might have been before you showed up or right around the time. There was a boy that was like the son of a couple of the activists who would come frequently to some of the things that we were doing. And whenever the police would show up and ask who's in charge, we'd all point at this like 7-year-old.
You ratted out a 7-year-old? Jesus God, man.
The idea was they don't know what to do then either, because what are they going to do to, a child?
Well, Christ, they're a meat grinder. You can't expect
these days,
you can't expect any more compassion out of these animals than you can out of a tractor.
I see what you're saying, but it wasn't like that. This is New Hampshire.
But I would be afraid that they would really say, "Okay, the kid's in charge. Let's take him."
Well, I
can see it being done, and then put his parents on trial for endangerment.
Yeah.
Well, they cuff a kid, throw him into jail.
It wasn't like that. This is
see.
New
I would
Hampshire.
rather
you were
see
lucky.
the
You were lucky then.
Spartacus thing, where it's just like, I am Spartacus.
Right.
No, I am the Spartacus. Maybe that's what we should do. Is if they say what's in. Well, isn't that our slogan? Like nobody's in charge, so everybody is.
That's the Forkfest unofficial slogan.
I guess that's what we should tell the police.
You can make the slogan whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here for Forkfest. I'm here for QA Fest or whatever, right?
Yeah, call it whatever you want. Bandcamp is another name for.
I
the
like
festival.
Bandcamp.
The festival
There's
has
1 year at Bandcamp.
as in BANNED. We have to spell it, right?
True, because we have to be banned from polite society and minarchy.
But nobody can ban anyone from Forkfest because there's nobody in charge of it. Technically, I suppose the campground could.
They could.
There are some,
but they like money. They probably won't.
Yeah, there are rules that are, the campground does have certain rules, right? No running by the pool or whatever, the rules might be. But generally, as you pointed out, I think off the air, Rich, these the campground, they love these events because it's their biggest year, their biggest week.
Have all year. These 2 weeks.
Exactly. So if you want to have the experience of, hanging out with a bunch of cool Liberty people, this is going to be the place to do it. And I'm not saying the Porcupine Freedom Festival is a bad event. It's just a different event. That's all. It's a more of a family kind of oriented event these days. That's not to say there won't be families. Well, that's not to say there won't be families here.
Not. I mean, it's good to have strokes for all the folks. Because there are people who are Christian family people who want to bring their Christian family to New Hampshire and be libertarians here, and that's a wonderful thing. And they should have a place that's friendly to them to go, and that is limited to what they want their kids to see. And then we should also have the party.
Yeah.
And this is the party.
All right, so we got more coming up here from Forkfest 2019. This is Free Talk Live, and you can't join us by calling in, but you can join us physically in reality. Get on up here, Forkfest.party. We're at Rogers Campground. There's more coming up here in moments.
Party!
It's Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest. Rich is already tipsy, and it is 3 in the afternoon.
Doesn't take much. I can't hold my alcohol because I rarely do.
There's just one can of Mike's Hard.
No, he had two.
I had.
Did
two.
I?
No, just
Were
one.
there two of those?
It was just one. No, I only brought
Only
4.
one? Really? I thought it was on his second one. That's only one? Oh,
it is. Oh,
okay.
sweet.
I think
Thank
I
you.
might
Good to
have
know.
jacked
Good to know.
somebody else's. Could you grab that?
Those are 8% too, so
Yeah.
it is a.
But it's
Are
they're
they
big. They're
8%?
tall boys. They're tall boys.
Right, they're
I
16
don't
ounce.
drink alcohol. Drugs are much healthier.
Well, you and Aria did have. You're right
plants
about that.
Plants are much healthier.
You're right, and you and Aria did have a pretty amazing after show a couple of weeks ago when you were
Piss drunk.
the drunkest I've seen in a long time. But you were like in the zone. I mean, you were just.
Was I good?
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't watched it.
For
I was
how-
afraid. I don't remember what I said.
for how drunk you were pretty good. Generally, you don't want to have somebody be too drunk on the air because it's bad. But
Right.
it wasn't a radio show.
Well, I try to be drunk well when I am
This
drunk.
is a radio show.
It is.
It wasn't, but it wasn't a radio show. It was an after show that we do on the Twitch and DLive platforms, and it was pretty entertaining. And I think it was probably the best one that we've had. Although the Chris Cantwell one was also pretty good that you did with him.
I
was pretty
enjoyed the Chris Cantwell thing.
Yeah.
I would like to interview more. I'd like to do a series of interviewing people with bad ideas and then telling them why their ideas are bad, but telling to them in a nice and rational way, not calling them names.
Exactly. That's an important thing. And so anyway, we're here, and I do want to let you know that local.bitcoin.com has launched. It's been out for over a week at this point, and there are advertisements there for selling and buying Bitcoin Cash. If you've ever used let's say the other website that they're competing with in the past, which was called Local Bitcoins, they got rid of the ability to sell Bitcoins locally from the original site. So now local.bitcoin.com has stepped in. They've offered...
They haven't stepped in yet, though. Have
No, it's on. It's
on?
Yeah, it
I
started
haven't gotten
last
mail from them yet.
It
started yesterday.
It started last Tuesday.
Last
Yeah,
Tuesday.
it's been a whole week.
I didn't get the mail.
I don't know. I don't think
Okay,
they
I'll
send
get
it.
set up.
I don't think they send postal mail, but they might.
No, I guess I didn't check my email. I've been waiting for that.
Go to local.bitcoin.com and you can put your ads up there if you want, or just buy some Bitcoin Cash. You can use PayPal, you can use Venmo, you can use cash deposit at a bank. There's dozens of payment methods that are accepted there on the site. Now it is brand new, so it's not to where it probably will end up getting. They're still fixing some of the bugs, but the team that's behind it is paying attention to the feedback from customers, from people using the site, and they've been very responsive. I've been pretty impressed with how they've been handling things over there, and looking forward to seeing the site grow. Importantly, it is actually encrypted communications between buyer and seller. Nobody can read what the conversations are between the people on the site.
And that's the right way.
Yeah.
The best way to prevent people from storing your information is don't give it to them in the first place.
That's right.
I mean, the church has a very specific policy about secrecy in Bitcoin transactions, which is I can only do them while drunk.
Okay, well then now's the time.
And that way I don't remember. I legitimately, if you have a stoner priest, you can count on him not to pass on your confessions.
Well, then you don't have to be
he's
drunk.
not going to remember.
As you pointed out, drinking is generally a much more dangerous activity than getting, smoking a little cannabis. It's much safer.
True.
It's much safer. You're not going to have as many problems. Anyway, go to local.bitcoin.com. You can go there. They got some great options for buying and selling Bitcoin Cash. As we continue here, just generally from Rogers Campground on a very cold day in the middle. It's still the springtime. Spring isn't quite over, and in New Hampshire, it really doesn't get warm around here until the summertime, until the middle of the summer.
For about 20 minutes.
Basically. Now, it can get pretty hot. New Hampshire does have the ability.
The thing I remember about Forkfest is I'd always have a sunburned top of my head because I didn't go outdoors in those days. I'm outdoors more now.
Yeah, and we are broadcasting or recording the show outdoors, which is a bit of a difference than the way we used to do it, which was we used to go up in what they call the TV room here, and we would actually do the show live.
I miss that
in front of a studio
I want to
audience.
see that happen at Forkfest. I want to make
don't.
it happen.
I like
next
being
year.
out here. I'm done doing the TV room shows. I'm sick of it.
See, the thing I like about the TV room shows is a lot of times at night when it does get cool, it gives people a place to withdraw that isn't as like party-esque as
I don't
the
know. We had some
campfire.
parties. I mean, we had some parties up there. I remember one year Jason Osborne threw a Free Talk Live amplifier party up there, and he brought. It was when we hit our 100th radio affiliate. He made custom shot glasses that had like Free Talk Live 100. You know, it was like a commemorative kind of collectible thing, and he gave them out to everybody who was an amplifier that came to Forkfest that year, which was pretty cool. Or
Nice.
Porkfest that year. And of course this year we're celebrating 200 radio affiliates. So congratulations to us.
Someone's got for like a mega party for that. That'd be
You
pretty
could do
lit.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, man. That'd
Big
be
Gay
lit.
Dance Party. We'll just co-opt the Big Gay Dance Party for that, because why not?
Yeah, Vincent's big gay dance party. Because it's happy. It's going to be a very happy, festive
Very
time.
happy.
I'll
That's
spell
right.
gay with an E at the end of it.
Does that make it more happy?
Well, so it sounds like Old
I
English.
think that makes it more gay.
The Big Gay Dance Party, by the way, has a big history as well, having been held at the Porcupine Freedom Festival for 6 years. I believe it was 6 years straight. Buzz's Big Gay Dance Party. It ended up getting coverage in Vice magazine.
I
at
did
one
that
point.
too.
You got coverage. That's right. You did get coverage for the 420s. No, that was for the for going to prison possibly for 80 years.
Yeah, they did actually good coverage.
Well, it is Vice. I mean, of course they're going to do good coverage on.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Vice
Excuse
Porkfest.
me.
I don't know. I have mixed opinions on Vice's reporting.
They've gone very downhill in recent years.
Really?
Oh,
They've
yeah.
gone
yeah.
kind
they
of
have,
leftist.
They've
They have,
been
a
leftist.
they have a reporter, and it was founded
gone
by
leftist,
Gavin
sir.
McInnes. That's also a funny thing back as a magazine. But they have a reporter who's gone into hiding because they allegedly reportedly broke into someone they wanted to interview's house.
Oh my!
Or no, they went into her property or did something allegedly, right? That's their Twitter is now protected. They
Wow.
just totally no one's making any statements about it. Yeah, they tried to. I think they trespassed or allegedly. I don't want to get
Twitter
sued.
is protected?
Onto
Vice
the
as a whole?
owner of 8chan, right in the Philippines. They went onto his property to do an interview. He got it recorded on his security cameras, and they just suddenly disappear. It's not being covered anywhere except like fringe sites.
Didn't I hear HBO canceled their show?
Who?
Vice. HBO canceled
Oh,
Vice's
wow.
HBO show. Eric's in the background. He's saying yes. So I don't know what that was for, but maybe it was the ratings weren't what they were hoping it to be, or what. But anyway, forkfest.party. There's a forum that you can link to there. There's a Telegram chat room which has been very active, and I'm sure it's going to be very active, especially over the weekend as we are at day number 1. People slowly arriving. We've seen some friendly faces, some folks that we recognize from past events, and as I said, there's plenty of time for you to get up here as well. So, should we get into the news, because we've been vamping here for the first hour, and it's been good. There's no doubt about it. But there are things to talk about, and I know, Vincent, you wanted to discuss John McAfee.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The madman
The
himself.
software magnate.
That's not good. Magnus is a race software. You can't bring Magnus around software.
I just knew you were going to have something for it. That's why I looked at you.
Yeah, it had to be
that one.
said. You can't expose it to magnets.
Well,
it's
the
all
magnets
magnetism.
Magnets don't harm software. It's usually the hardware that they. that
Well,
cause
the thing
problems
is,
with.
they'll erase your hard drive, and then
Yeah.
you don't have your
Then
software
Right,
anymore.
that's true. This is true. So we'll talk about John McAfee, who is in the news again. He's on the run, by the way. I don't know if you knew this, but John McAfee is outside of the United States right now and has been for a few months because
Is that his boat/campaign headquarters still?
That's right,
Good
and
for him.
he's lashing out against the U.S. federal government. Story from ccn.com. Says Bitcoin bull John McAfee warns government, "I will bury you." You gotta love this guy. I just wish he could.
Yeah, they've buried a lot more people than he has, but I hope he's right.
Yeah.
He says he's got
I
the
would
documents.
lend him my shovel.
No doubt. Bitcoin millionaire John McAfee, who's a fugitive from the law for
He's more
tax
than a
evasion.
billionaire, isn't he? Isn't he a billionaire?
That's what it said, billionaire. here.
Okay.
derisively taunted the U.S. government on Twitter recently. McAfee warned them to leave him alone or he will effing bury them.
Now go away, silly British kniggets, or we will taunt you a second time.
In a dizzying weekend Twitter rant, McAfee claimed the Department of Justice is compiling a bogus case against him for money laundering, racketeering, and murder. We'll get into the details here in moments. I know you got stuff to say about this, Vincent, so we'll continue here. Hour number 2 from Forkfest 2019 is coming up on Free Talk Live.
Business owners, you want more customers? Accept cryptocurrencies. There's people all around you just waiting to spend money at your store. If only you would take it. I know, you've been waiting till someone else makes it easy. Well, good news. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com adds Bitcoin to your point of sale, totally free. Use the same equipment you already have, now with Bitcoin. And unlike credit cards, there's no fees. Let the guys at HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com bring new customers to your store. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, Free Talk Live here from Rogers Campground at Forkfest 2019, day number 1. A cold day, but I think it was actually like this last time. I feel like last year it was also rainy and cold on day number 1, and then the clouds parted and the sun came out the next day and it was beautiful. I don't know what it's going to be like, and you know what? The weather reports, just ignore them, because from one moment to the next, this is New England. What they say, the old joke is that if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. And now it hasn't been true on this particular day. It's been rainy and cold the entire time. But we just had a kind of an interesting interaction. There's a gentleman parking his hybrid here over there, and he stopped on the road to ask, "Is this the place, or is this the center?" He said. And we were like, well, it's decentralized. I mean, we're here, but I don't know how many other people are here. We've seen a handful of folks that we recognize so far that have kind of come into the park. There's the gentleman whose name is escaping me right now, and I'm terrible sometimes with names of people who I don't see but once a year. Who's like sells soda. He's like makes his own soda.
Oh,
Sean. Yeah. So he's here.
Makes the best soda that will be here.
Yeah. He's here. He's already getting set up. He's got like 2 trailers full of equipment that he's setting up. So like the people that are here to vend, they're going to be they got to spend day number 1 setting up. Like we spent some time setting this tent up, and thanks to you guys for helping out, it was a little faster than it otherwise would have been. But now we're here. We're broadcasting. We basically just threw right into broadcasting, and we haven't done anything else but this, essentially, besides let the dog out and all that. But it's decentralized. That's kind of the point that you wanted to make on
it
this.
Is, but
and by the way, Aria DeMezzo.
Yeah, Aria DeMezzo. Yeah. Hi.
Replacing Rich Paul, who's wandered off. Hopefully he will not find alcohol wherever it is he's wandering. But anyway, go ahead with what you're going to say.
Well, I did lock the hotel room. So,
okay, cool.
And I think that's where I put the cooler. So.
Right on.
All good. But yeah, in any environment, whether everybody is equal or not, there are going to be people who do things and people who attend things. Mm-hmm. I mean, here from the perspective of someone who isn't familiar with what's going on, they come across a tent of people speaking into microphones. Right. Here at the front of a row, they assume, oh, these are the doers.
Well, we are.
Yeah, these are the people I need to gravitate to find out what's going on. But even that is not necessarily any sort of leadership or centralization. Things like, hey, we're just over here doing a thing. If you want to come participate, that's fine. The thing is more or less open.
Right. And here it's more like watching. I mean, every now and then we'll bring somebody in who we want to talk to or whatever. But
we're certainly not going to hand them an itinerary and be like, oh, here's what's going on.
Yeah. There isn't a central itinerary, but there is a calendar.
And it's decentralized as well, is it not?
I mean, as decentralized as a calendar can be. Obviously, someone is hosting the calendar. So
right.
there's an individual. His name's Adam. He's got the tech skills to be able to put up his own server or whatever, and so he's hosting this calendar that is accessible by anyone. But it's centralized in that it has to be somewhere. It has to be on a computer somewhere. But it's decentralized.
Well, even that could be decentralized if he wanted to put into the effort. of using some sort of blockchain system.
Yeah,
it would
I don't think that level of effort was was expended.
If we wanted to,
but doing this one calendar was more effort than last year. So it's interesting watching the event grow. Again, we're here at Forkfest. You can go to forkfest.party to learn more about it. But watching the event and how the different aspects of it can change, because there's not one person who's saying do this, do that, don't do this. So last year there were two calendars. There were two competing calendars, which is why I say it's still decentralized, because anybody else could be like, I don't like this calendar, and start their own, right?
Right.
And so last year there were two of them, and I would say the best one last year was the one that was on Google Calendar that somebody made who wasn't even going to attend this event. So there was like a guy on the Forkfest forums, which are part of the larger Shire forums,
right.
Who, he supports the event, but he wasn't going to be able to attend it. So he said, here, I'll just put Google Calendar together, and you can just, put whatever you want on it. Cool. And he put the instructions on how to do it on the Forkfest forum, which you can go to forum.forkfest.party to access that. And, that was cool. It worked, right? Like, Google Calendar's pretty easy. It's pretty plug and play. Most people are familiar with it. But people this year were not happy with Google, right, because it's a centralized system. You're not in charge of Google Calendar. You can create one, but ultimately if Google doesn't like your calendar for some reason, they could get rid of it. And some people are very against Google in general and Facebook and these big corporate...
These big fascist tech giants.
I was not happy to learn that Google owned Waze. As much as I love Waze, was not.
We did use Waze on the way up here. Google's got some good products. Let's be clear. Like there's a reason why they're as dominant as they are, is because they're good. Google Calendar, I use it, right? But anyway, the guys who are like really against any of that stuff put this other calendar together. They use something called Nextcloud. And I had not heard of it before, but it's an interesting piece of software. They've basically done like essentially a free cloud software system. So you're not using Microsoft, you're not using Google's cloud, you're not using some mega corporate cloud. You can make your own cloud, basically, from your own server or whatever. And so they have like centralized, or not central, but cloud storage and cloud calendar. And so they use the calendar aspect of this Nextcloud thing, and it looks like Google. Like they've done a good job of sort of aping the way that Google Calendar works and the way that it looks. So anybody that's familiar with that will easily be able to kind of plug right into it and add their events to it. And so they put this thing up. There was some teamwork between the two of them. And
cool.
And because I run the Forkfest.party website, which, again, all this decentralized. If somebody else wants to start a website, please go right ahead. And, I'm sure they can do a better job than I can. But, I'm like, all right, well, I'll add what I consider to be the best calendar to the website. And this was the best one so far. There was like another one that was just a spreadsheet that somebody put together. And I'm like, yeah, that's easy to edit and everything. But, a calendar's a nice thing.
See, last year is coming back to me in bits and pieces. And I seem to recall that most of the events that happened, I ended up finding out about through word of mouth instead of an application or calendar.
Right.
This year has been more about the calendar.
I think you're going to see both, probably, because there's going to be things that just happen spur of the moment, on the campground. Word of mouth will definitely be the case. I mean, there's different ways for people to communicate. Like we use two-way radios when we were convoying up here. You're going to see those are going to be in use quite a bit here because internet can be spotty on this campground. It's actually going to be harder to use a calendar while you're here if you've got bad internet than elsewhere. Although there are people talking about doing a mesh network this year, which would be really cool if that happens. And that's sort of like a decentralized computer network for file sharing and communications and all that. But so it's interesting, like I was saying, watching this change, going from a more centrally hosted, a mega corporate hosted calendar to a more decentralized calendar that's hosted by the participants in this particular event. I thought that was a cool change.
I mean, especially without anyone being in charge facilitating this and directing it. This is how an anarchic society would flourish, is by people doing their own thing and working together, collaborating and all of that to make the best product available.
Exactly. And if you don't like it, well, go ahead and compete.
Absolutely.
Start something else or ignore it or whatever. And so, all this coming from the discussion that we were having about, somebody pulling up and asking if this is the center. And no, there is no center to this event. We're here. So, like, we're probably the only thing to do at the moment. So if you want to define it that way, okay, fine. But it's not going to be long before somebody's got a campfire going. It's not going to be long before somebody's selling food. I know Matt, my roommate's going to be here probably in a few hours from now, and I imagine he's going to crank that food out. If he's the only person who can sell food, he's going to set up as soon as he possibly can and be the number one, food vendor, because that's what I told him. He was actually upset a little bit earlier because Rogers apparently moved him out of the campsite that he had originally intended to receive, which was going to be a few rows over from where we are in what during Forkfest is called Agora Alley. And he ended up getting moved down the sort of the street, the row that's next to us. So we're like a few rows back. And I told him, well, it's going to be different because he's never been to Forkfest before. I said, what's true at Forkfest isn't necessarily going to be true at Forkfest.
People walk by through Agora Valley at Forkfest because they're heading to the convention center down there or whatever.
Where there's speakers and such, yeah. And there's not going to be a center for speakers here, although I think Alt Expo might be having some speakers at their tent. So we got more coming up here. If you want to join us, you're going to have to come out in real life because we're here at Rogers Campground. It's a beautiful place, just an absolutely splendid view of the White Mountains of New Hampshire. At Lancaster, New Hampshire, you can go to forkfest.party and learn more about the event. It's going through the weekend. There's more coming up here on Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019, and people are showing up as we are here on this afternoon edition of Free Talk Live. Normally we do a live show, but here we do it recorded because it's just more fun to do it this way. That way we get to hang out at night, and we don't have to be sitting up in a room by ourselves in some cases. And Ian, Aria, and Vincent in the studio. Vincent making his return after being away from Keene for the last month and a half or so. So welcome back, Vincent.
Thank you.
Vincent is the host of Questioning Authority, which, if you listen to LRN.FM, you probably already know that. That's the Saturday night show, which is also normally a live show, but you've been doing some recorded episodes there because it's been easier for you that way. But I believe are you going to do some live shows from your
absolutely. Yeah, as soon. Thank you. Yes, my bunker. As soon as I get back from Forkfest and I have time to settle, I'm going to get back to doing live shows, taking callers. I mean, it isn't QA without callers. So
without James calling to threaten your life.
Oh no, yeah, that keeps me on my toes, keeps me frosty. So that's good.
By the way, I do want to let you know about the folks over at American Financing at AmericanFinancing.net. They are a family-owned mortgage banker, and they've been helping people for 20 years, getting mortgages, refinancing mortgages. And one of the key differences between American Financing and a bunch of those other mortgage companies is they actually don't pay their salespeople commission. So that means the people that you're dealing with are on a salary, so they're not getting paid based on giving you like a mortgage that isn't right for you. Giving you a mortgage that gives them the biggest paycheck. They don't do that there because whatever it is they're selling you is what's right for you. It's not affecting their paycheck. They're non-commissioned. So it's a key difference between them and other mortgage companies. There's a lot more to learn about them. You can go to AmericanFinancing.net. American Financing, NMLS 182334, and that's www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. That's the important legal stuff. Toll-free number, 888-804-0303. That's 888-804-0303. AmericanFinancing.net. As we are here at Forkfest 2019. Let's get back into John McAfee. We touched on it briefly in the last hour. I said we were going to do it, but as tends to be at Forkfest, the conversation just goes all over the place. And Aria DiMezzo is with us, the anarchist she-male from Call to Freedom, which sadly will not be airing live today, but we're going to see if we can pull it off for tomorrow. We have no idea how the internet connection is going to be, so it may be a disaster, and it might actually work pretty well because I've got a decent connection here from the folks over at Google Fi, going back to the topic we were talking about before. So John McAfee is taunting the U.S. government, according to ccn.com, which is a cryptocurrency news website. They're talking about how he went off on the Department of Justice in a dizzying weekend Twitter rant, as the article points out. He warned that if the federal government doesn't leave him alone, he'll drop several bombshells that will reveal mass corruption within the government, so they better back off or else. Quote, this is a couple of his tweets here. From friends in the State Department, the DOJ trumped up charges against me for murder, money laundering, and racketeering. A conspiracy is unfolding. Proof coming. I've collected files on corruption in governments. For the first time, I'm naming names and specifics. I'll begin with a corrupt CIA agent and 2 Bahamian officials. If I'm arrested or disappear, 31 terabytes of incriminating data will be released to the press.
My question is, what's he been waiting for so long? If he has all of his data that could, be like Snowden or Assange level corruption, why is he waiting for now? I mean,
Assange did the same thing. I mean, he milked I have all of this dirt on Hillary, and it's totally going to sink her election. He did exactly the same thing. It's all about, attention for them.
Well, he's certainly a guy who loves attention. There's no doubt about that. You could also argue that he's holding this as insurance, right? That he's got dirt, and letting the dirt out in advance could have put him in jeopardy in advance, meaning that if he was fine, if the U.S. government wasn't after him, and then all of a sudden he lets loose a barrage of attacks against them, then for sure they're going to retaliate, right?
Well, I mean, it comes down to a question of liberty or death, really. If he's not willing to actually get out there and pay the price with his life to release this information that clearly would sink the government if he actually has this information.
He's full of it.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's absolutely full of it. He's absolutely insane. But if he did have
But we love him.
We do. I love him to death.
Even though he tried to scam you, apparently.
He did, yeah.
Do you want to tell a story?
Yeah, so several months ago, I received a message from John McAfee, the actual John McAfee, or at least a bot pretending to be him on his account. It was his actual account.
On Facebook.
Yeah, asking me about his presidential campaign and whether or not I supported it in 2020. I was like, of course I do.
Yeah.
I voted for you in 2016, throwing my vote away in the process because if I thought it was actually going to,
doesn't matter
result
anyway.
in other people being told what to do, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, absolutely. And then he tried shilling some sort of cryptocurrency nonsense to me. I don't remember exactly.
And what time of the night was this? Because you're a night owl. You're constantly up in the middle of the night. Was this like 3 in the morning?
He sent the first message around 3 in the morning. Okay. When I responded.
Coked out. Jesus, who hasn't offered people crazy business deals when they were coked out at 3 a.m.?
I would
Thank you, Peanut Gallery. Keep going. We can't hear him. He's too far away.
I would expect John McAfee, of all people, to have a bit more decorum than that.
I don't know.
But I mean,
I don't know if he's got much decorum. I'm not sure.
Well, when he presents himself as a businessman, he's a pretty good one. You know?
Sure. But he's a retired business. I mean, he's not running a mega corporation anymore or anything like that. He doesn't have John McAfee doesn't have anybody to impress at this point. Like there was a time when
he's got voters to impress.
No, he doesn't care.
So I will say,
he
has said that his campaign, because I've been sort of researching it, his campaign he doesn't expect anyone to vote for him, but it's like an information thing. He wants his and if this is what he says on Twitter, it could just be rhetoric, but
that's what a good libertarian campaign is supposed to be.
He just wants to get the word out there against the tyrannical government and human freedom.
That's what
Which
Harry
is
Brown
great.
did back when he was the Libertarian presidential candidate in '96 and 2000, and then we haven't had that party hasn't had a good candidate since Harry Brown because the rest of them, well, Michael Badnarik was okay. He wasn't as good of a communicator. But since Michael Badnarik, there wasn't a principled candidate, and the whole idea was to have a principled candidate to explain to people. And I don't even know if John McAfee's that principled, all things considered.
It would appear that he's not.
The thing is, McAfee isn't pretending to be a perfect person, and I think
I love him.
I think I understand.
Hold on, because hold on,
a little bit.
Here we go.
Because I'm not a perfect person doesn't excuse literal fraud against somebody else.
Or you didn't get to the fraud part of the
you
story.
don't remember what the fraud was, so I
Yes, she
can't
does.
take
She's
that.
gonna tell you.
Exactly
Okay, tell
what
me the fraud.
was.
Tell me the
I don't
fraud.
remember the name of it.
I
but
thought it was just some cryptocurrency nonsense.
It was
well,
some
it was
cryptocurrency nonsense. And the more questions
was it fraudulently nonsensical, or was it?
If you will shut up
innocent?
for a second, I will answer your questions. Right?
Okay.
I will tell you the story.
Well, if you stop yelling at me, you'll be answering my question.
Well, that's the only way to speak over you when you start interrupting me. So, it was some kind of cryptocurrency nonsense. And the more questions I asked about it, because, Call to Freedom had a crypto hour for like a year and a half. I'm pretty knowledgeable about cryptocurrency. So I want to know how decentralized it is, whether or not it used, and I can't even think of it right now, despite just talking about being knowledgeable about cryptocurrencies, shielded transactions, things like that. I asked
Proof
questions.
of work versus proof of stake.
No, I didn't ask that particular question. But I did ask whether or not it was decentralized, whether or not a single company was going to hold a large portion of the cryptocurrency, which happened with air swap tokens and several other ERC20 tokens. I asked, having to present an ID, what is the term for that? Why can't I think of it?
Know your customer.
Yeah, KYC.
Know your customer, anti-money laundering typically goes together.
Yeah, I asked whether it was going to involve KYC and all of that, and he kept dodging my questions. Like, but we're going to get you this massive return on your investment. I was like, you're not answering these very simple
Hold that thought.
questions.
Free Talk Live. We're coming up.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
It's Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019, and for just the briefest moment, sun did come out during our last segment. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but
here comes the sun.
Yeah, but it did. It did happen. I'm sure it won't be the last time that we'll see the sun over the next 5 days that we're going to be here.
All the other days are supposed to be pretty clear, aren't they?
There's no point in looking at the weather report up here. It's always just you never have any idea what it's going to be like.
See, I found the weather reports up here to be pretty good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, usually people will say, it's going to rain for like 2 hours on Tuesday.
Huh. Well, yeah, but they can say it the day before maybe and be somewhat close, but you're not going to know what's happening Saturday. You're not going to know what's happening Monday at this point.
Well, I don't need to know that till then.
So don't let any negative weather reports scare you away. It's going to be fun either way. People are going to have a good time. We'll put up tents are going to go up. If it's raining, you can get out of the rain. It's not a problem. Just bring like a hoodie, bring something warm, bring some normal shoes. Like if I'd had my sandals, I'd have been in trouble. I'd be freezing cold. I'd be like in a bed in the hotel room or something like that. So definitely get. And there is a motel on site. There's also a hotel down the road. So if you need nicer digs, there's a nicer hotel down there. But anyway, Rogers Campground has a wide variety. They got RV sites for those of you with that sort of thing. That's where we are right now. We're on RV site 59 if you come and see us. And there's also just kind of normal camping sites here as well. By the way, we're talking about John McAfee. We're going to get back into how he was allegedly trying to scam you, Aria, or at least somebody perhaps that he hired.
Well, I have the proof that it was coming directly from the John McAfee account. So one has to assume
presumably
John McAfee that it was authorized.
Yeah. And so we'll get back into that coming up here. I also want to let you know about edge.app. If you are looking to get into cryptocurrency, you're brand new, Edge is a perfect wallet for people who are brand new, but it's also great for people with experience. I'm very experienced with crypto, and Edge Wallet is my number one choice for cryptocurrency, and that's not because they're a sponsor. That was true for me before they became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. You can buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, and Dash, and others. Go to edge.app. They've been building wallet apps since 2014. They started with, back when it was Bitcoin only, they had Airbits, which was the best Bitcoin only wallet. Secure your freedom. It's available for iOS and Android, and it's a great app. Edge.app is their website. That's Edge Wallet. Go to edge.app. As we continue here, so 3 in the morning, John McAfee sends you a message. You've never talked to him before, right?
I don't think so.
So you didn't meet him at an event?
I think I interacted with him at one point on Twitter, but what does that count for?
Yeah. I mean, he's probably interacted with thousands of people on Twitter.
Right.
But you might have liked one of his pages on Facebook, which is kind of the theory, right? Like you may have.
I don't know. No,
because how did he find
I don't
you?
Generally like pages from
Well, then
people.
how did he?
I don't know. That was
maybe you commented on something
when we initially discussed it. I mean, that was the answer we didn't have. Is what caused him to contact me in the first place.
But he did.
He did.
And it was his account, not an imposter account. It was John McAfee saying, hey, check out this cool new crypto. You should put your money into it, basically, right?
Well, it was a new crypto service.
Okay.
And the idea behind it was that he was going to have these brokers buying and selling cryptos that I invested in them.
Okay.
And they were going to use this sort of like a manual version of Helium in order to make me a profit.
Helium was a company that was like a robotic investing company.
Yes,
kind of thing?
you would send like $100 to it, and it would buy whatever cryptocurrency happened to be going up.
Are they still in business?
If they are, they're limping along barely.
Okay.
And I don't think they are still in business.
Gotcha.
So he was offering something like that, except having actual people behind it, and they were going to be backed by mathematics and all of this. And I was like, that's all well and good, but you're asking me essentially to send money to people that I don't know anything about. So I need to know, is this system that you're utilizing, does it involve KYC?
Know your customer requirements.
Right.
That's what that stands for.
Are you going to ask me for an ID and a government-issued one and all of that kind of nonsense? Because I'm good on that. I don't need it. And on top of that, am I going to have access to the private keys that ultimately control these wallets? Now, I understand that in order to do these trades, the brokers would also have to have access to them. But that doesn't mean I can't. And I'm not going to put money into someone that I don't control. Might as well just send it to a bank at that point.
Okay.
And he never answered those questions. He, in fact, blocked me and deleted.
I would say that's
Hold
one
on,
of the
let me finish
weakest
the story.
allegations of fraud that I have ever heard in my life.
Will you let me finish the story?
Okay, go ahead.
He not only refused to answer the questions, he deleted me, blocked me, and deleted the entire message history because I was asking questions that he didn't have answers to.
Okay.
Or he didn't want to answer.
Or that he didn't want to answer. He was shilling for something he knew nothing about.
Which, by the way, John McAfee has stated publicly that if you pay him, I believe, $100,000, he will promote your coin.
Yeah.
Well,
he has
there's
absolutely
your answer, because if he's advertising that as a product, then you know exactly how much credibility
and this
to give.
disqualifies him from any sense of honor or reverence that one person
Well,
might
not at
have
all.
for him.
He's honorably doing what he said. He said he'd shill your coin for money. He's shilling coins for money. And now you're saying, well, he's shilling coins for money.
Though. There's a problem with that,
The only
right?
people he's going to successfully shill are 70-year-old grandmothers who don't know what they're doing. This is okay to you?
Well,
No, it's not okay.
I mean,
You're
I don't
defending
know where
him.
you get a 70-year-old
You are defending someone who is
grandmother
out there
in the
scamming
crypto.
people in order to make a profit.
Hey, we can't hear you, Vincent.
I want to hear what Rich has to say in response, which is why I tore his microphone.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying that if somebody goes out and says, yeah, or I'll publicly says I'll shill your coin for X number of dollars, it's like an actor doing a commercial. That kind of, you don't necessarily believe that the actor believes in the product he's selling. He's been hired to play a role.
Well, that's
now
an
this guy has
interesting idea.
announced that he is such an actor willing to shill your coin for money. Now the thing is, there are people that don't know that John McAfee is this actor, so they might think, hey, I see this guy in the commercial, he says the razor
If my
shaves
job
really
required me
smooth and
to
the
act
razor
like I
doesn't
didn't
shave
have
me
integrity,
smooth.
and this
Hold
actually
on.
resulted in people being scammed, I would quit that job.
Hold on a sec. The other thing is that anybody who doesn't know that if somebody's a 70-year-old grandmother, that person attaches absolutely zero significance to the name John McAfee. So it's no.
Oh no, his
different
name is
than
on their
saying that
desktop
Bruce
computer when they
Wayne
go to
doesn't
Yahoo
make
Mail.
Hairdryer.
You're losing this one, Rich.
Okay,
You know,
well,
I got to say,
you
because
can feel however you like.
Look,
I will stand by every
I would
single
like to
product
respond
I have
to
ever endorsed on Call to Freedom.
yeah, I would like to respond to the actor claim. I mean, it's an interesting argument, but actors are still responsible for the things that they decide to act in. If that dog food doesn't get your dog shinier than any other dog, then you personally blame the actor for that? I would
He's
say
an
that the
actor, he
actor-
got hired to play a role.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that people should be choosier about the roles that they decide to play. You know, we at Free Talk Live.
See, I like tawdry theater. I don't want people to be choosy about the roles they play.
This isn't just about entertaining somebody in a theater. This
Well,
isn't
the
about
thing
acting like a bad guy in a movie. This is about actually trying to get money out of people on a false premise. And so,
but the false premise is what? The keys aren't proprietary, or you're not the person isn't holding the keys.
Oh, I'm not speaking specifically to the McAfee situation. I think you're.
Well, the thing is, what I'm saying is that sounds like
you're defending the indefensible.
An ordinary. Well, that's what we do here.
Well,
on
that's
Free
not
Talk
what all of us
to
do.
some extent.
I don't do that.
I'm ignoring the details on the McAfee because I agree with you that to claim that McAfee was being fraudulent is maybe a little bit too harsh harsh of a claim, but I'm saying that you should be
one
choosy.
thing that I'd like to know is whether Aria got drunk and signed up for his coin shilling service, where he said, "Hey, give me your email address and I'll shill some coin to you." In which case, sending you letters shilling some coin is hardly out of what you'd expect out of the guy. You don't know why you contacted him. Or you don't know why he contacted you.
I honestly think you might be too drunk to continue the conversation.
I'm fine.
I mean that as
I'll
a friend of
fine.
yours.
Don't you worry
first
about
of
me.
all, okay, well, I'm not the one who gets drunk and then changes the conversation completely, even with the lead-in. The question was actually whether or not I got drunk and succumbed to the scam that he was offering me. The answer to that is no. We never got to that point. He blocked me and deleted all the messages before I could ever have sent him anything.
We'll continue this in moments from Forkfest 2019. It's Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live, and we're at Forkfest 2019 at the beautiful Rogers Campground on day number 1. A bit of an overcast day, a little chilly out. In fact, it's pretty cold, 56 degrees, but my hardcore crew is here, and y'all are toughing it out here with me, and I appreciate it. And folks have been coming by, and things have just started to get heated here on the air between Aria and Rich Paul. We've got people even driving by. They're heckling us. Come on. No? He's not heckling. He's not heckling. I'm kidding. He's very nice. To us, at least. Yeah, and so anyway, we're here, and it's been a good event so far, and it hasn't even gotten started, really. I mean, there's no food available yet, but I suspect by tomorrow that will change.
I think Sean said he will be selling food tomorrow, but his drink truck won't be ready until Saturday.
All right, no problem. There's we know that Matt Roach is going to show up here in a little bit with some food. Plus, we might actually go out because there's a cryptocurrency accepting bar that has some food here that's just down the street. We got them set up last year.
He should call his joint Roach Food.
It's a good idea. I guess you'll have to decide that with Vincent because they're partners in this particular venture. Now, speaking of ventures, we're getting back into the John McAfee drama where he came onto your Facebook page or your profile. He sent you a message, Aria, saying, "Hey, I've got this thing I'm shilling. Here it is. You asked some tough questions. He didn't. Whoever he was, and maybe it was him or somebody that was working on his account, because it's John McAfee."
If you'll recall, we read the entire chat log.
Call to Freedom, your show.
I thought it was Free Talk Live that we did it.
Oh, maybe it was. I don't know. I was going to give you credit for it, though.
Thanks.
Call to freedomlive.com. Is the website up, by the way?
I think so.
Okay,
I'm not sure. I haven't checked in a while because there's generally nothing on it of consequence.
And now Rich Paul is saying, so he made these statements. He refused to answer the questions that you asked. He then deleted the deleted the chat and blocked you.
Yes, but because of the way Facebook works, you can back up, you can download all of your information, which will include deleted messages.
That's how you got access to them later on.
Yes. That's how I can still prove to this day that it was indeed John McAfee's actual account.
Right. Now, was it fraud that he was committing, or was he just being slimy? I would say probably the latter. I'm not going to go so far as to say it was actual fraud, and Vincent is also here. Welcome.
I'd say the appropriate word is he was very unscrupulous.
Unscrupulous. And Rich Paul is saying, well, if they've hired you to be unscrupulous, then who cares?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it doesn't rise to the level of fraud. Okay? There's a difference between...
so you do care about unscrupulous people.
To some extent, but
products that are questionable.
But I draw there's a big difference between saying this shampoo is the best shampoo,
sure,
or here, try my coin, which maybe the coin has
now hold on, because you're talking about this in the context of commercials, and this isn't what happened. Somebody came up, a door-to-door salesman came up to my door trying to sell me something, and when I asked them questions about the profit,
no, it wasn't a door-to-door salesman. It wasn't.
It was a digital door-to-door salesman.
It was a digital commercial then.
No, because it was one-to-one. It was direct.
Between walking up to somebody's door and sending them. How many times do Nigerians walk up to your door and offer you a fraction of a fortune? This doesn't happen to me. Email and walking up to your door isn't the same thing. So if you're going to tell me it's not a commercial, I'm going to tell you it's not walking up to your door.
It's absolutely not a commercial because a commercial is one to many.
It's absolutely not walking up to your door because he didn't even have to put his clothes on.
Okay, I didn't realize you were going to take that statement so literally.
Well, I didn't realize you were going to take the commercial
and I immediately
statement
reacted.
so literally.
Well, when we're talking about the differences between tactics that salesmen use, I think it's of extreme significance that this was not.
We are, but we should talk about the one we're in, not
this
the
was
ones
not
we're
somebody
not in.
standing on paid programming saying, I'm going to talk to you for 30 minutes about this product. This was somebody who came up to me digitally and spoke to me directly, trying to sell me something, trying to get me to invest in something. And when I asked them questions, why should I buy this vacuum cleaner that you're trying to sell me? You say it's the best, but I majored in physics. Does it actually produce this compression ratio? And they go,
Oh, I thought you were going to ask, does it suck?
I don't know anything about this. I'm leaving now. I'm running away. Don't ever contact me again. That's what happened.
Well, a lot of that might depend on how that was said, because I can imagine a number of circumstances under which somebody might come out of a conversation with you saying, don't ever contact me again without being a crook. Because
we read the entire...
you might frighten them or...
Look, if I frighten John McAfee, then screw him anyway, right? This is John
He's
McAfee.
been up against much
Don't
more...
mess with his dogs.
No, I would not mess with them as dogs.
He's been up against some pretty strong opposition, that's for sure. I think he faced down some murder charges in Belize.
Oh, I love McAfee.
Yeah,
I love him too.
That's what's interesting is even after this interaction, you still said you would vote for him.
Yeah, it's just McAfee being McAfee.
I would vote for him.
I recognize that he is a scummy person, but he's interesting, he's fascinating, he's funny. He's like Vermin Supreme, except he's actually got libertarian principles that he's promoting and spreading.
He's closer, at least, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And on Twitter, I've seen him apologize for one crypto scam. That
there
he
was
claimed,
one, yeah.
That he claimed.
Maybe this was the one. I don't know.
I didn't know which one it was, but he said that he didn't know it was a scam, and as soon as he found out or something, he claimed ignorance to it.
Yeah,
but still
I saw that.
apologized.
I saw that apology. I'm glad you brought it up because. So now the thing is, you don't remember the thing he was shilling.
No, but in my defense, we did read the entire chat log on.
So
Free
you
Talk
could
Live,
pull it up, probably.
right?
Okay,
Yeah,
see, I haven't been exposed to that.
So
They did do
only...
it, and there was nothing I said that triggered him to run away like that.
Just to be clear, the thing that he had apologized for, I don't remember the name of that either, but whatever it was, he claimed that the company that had pitched it had hired a programmer to talk to him, and this programmer knew how to talk to McAfee to basically get McAfee on board with this thing, and McAfee realized later on that he'd been scammed after people brought it to his attention, and he immediately issued an apology about it. I'm wondering if that was the same thing that he was shilling in the case of talking to you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know when this happened. Your thing happened late last year, right? Wasn't it?
No, it just
early
a
this
few
year.
Months ago.
Okay.
I mean, I think about coins that I've talked about on the air. I talked about Zencash without ever looking at its source code. I looked at Zencash without. All right, I talked
Have
about Zencash.
Have you ever contacted someone and said you need to buy Zencash, and here's the reasons why? And when they said, "Well, I'm not sure I
well,
agree,"
I've said on the radio that I'm really impressed with Zencash.
That's one to
really,
many, and that's
think there's
expressing
a
your
difference.
opinion. That's not enticing people.
Look,
for.
I want to just say something
investment.
as a guy who runs a radio show and has for years. On occasion, I've had to deal with Mark Edge, who is the head salesperson behind Free Talk Live, bringing some very questionable products to the table. And I'm kind of the, I don't know what the testing department, if you will, because Mark will never spend any time actually vetting anything. And so I think it's important to do that. I think it's important to at least have some idea of what it is that you're going to put especially if it's your voice behind it, what you're going to be talking about. Now, on the other hand, if there's something you didn't know, if there's something you didn't realize or that you didn't uncover, that when you've done your due diligence and you've said, okay, this looks okay to me, and you go ahead with that thing, but then later on somebody brings something to your attention like, oh, crap, this thing's broken in this way, or this company turns out they weren't honest about this one claim, then as soon as that's brought to your attention, the honest thing to do is say, oh, crap, we got fooled. We didn't realize this. And if that's what McAfee did, then he did the right thing in that case.
To me, there's room for unaccountable channels. And one of the reasons for this is that otherwise you can't buy advertising for a product that the salespeople can't understand and put their name behind. How would you sell a cryptocurrency, the first cryptocurrency ad, when nobody knows who you're buying radio ads for? When the people you're buying radio ads from are saying, well, I can't promote this product because I don't understand it.
I totally
and it's like,
understand.
You don't have to understand it, just play the ad.
I get what you're saying there. And
so I'm giving some benefit of the doubt here on things that I have not seen and heard.
And you're not wrong
people
about
are
that.
very quick to fail to distinguish between good journalistic ethics and bad journalistic ethics versus fraud and not fraud.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
People are very quick to overstate and hyperbolize accusations. It's a cheap way to get ratings.
I agree with you
I
there.
I don't like that either.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. It's not fraud as long as you don't know. But if you put no effort whatsoever into trying to know, then that's problematic.
Unless people are aware that you put no effort, which I would say puts you. For example, I don't ever think that an actor is endorsing a commercial when he's in it. So if somebody has put it out there and said, hey, I've got a mailing list and I'll throw out news on your coin for this much money, then I don't expect the readers of that mailing list to find that they should not be surprised to find that news is not well vetted.
I get what you're saying, but as Aria had pointed out, not everybody knows whether that person is expected to be okay with fraudulent products or is expected to just take money from anybody.
And they can't be. If they're known to be, responsible for shilling fraudulent products, they're not going to be.
We've got more coming up here on Free Talk Live in moments. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us in real life. You can't call into these shows over the next 5 days because we're going to be at Rogers Campground at Forkfest, the 2019 editions, the third year. We got people showing up. There's more people coming by now. Actually, the sun is out. We took a quick break, did a little warm up in the sun, and I started to actually get warm. I was like, I should take these clothes off, but not yet, because it's still a little chilly under the tent. Actually,
take it off.
Where we are.
Take it off.
That'll be during the big gay dance party, Rich. You're gonna have to wait. For
okay.
So yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be Monday evening. If you're coming up here, you definitely don't want to miss that. The guys from AnyPay.global are going to be setting up a geodesic dome that they purchased for the purpose of coming here, and they're going to be doing basically raves every single night, from what I understand.
They're raving mad.
They are, and they're wonderful. We love those guys. I'm looking forward to having them on the air with us when we get the chance. Rich Paul with us, Ian, Vincent, as we are here out at Rogers Campground. Go to forkfest.party if you want to learn more about the event. That is definitely not too late to come to, as today is just day 1 of 5. And then, of course, after this, the Porcupine Freedom Festival follows it. So if you want to do a double up and do both events, just remember the Porcupine Freedom Festival you have to have a ticket for, whereas Forkfest, there's no tickets. There's nobody in charge. You just show up, get your campsite from the campground, and set your tent up or go into the motel or whatever you want to do. Bring your RV. We just met a longtime listener, Joe, who is a big Dash fan. Maybe we'll get him on to talk about what's going on with Dash. Yeah. But they're here. They brought their RV up.
Richard Stallman likes to make the point that free software is free as in speech, not free as in beer. Well, the nice thing about Forkfest is it's free as in speech and free as in beer.
Well,
except you got to pay the campsite.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's buying the beer. In this case, I think it was Vincent who purchased your drinks for you earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's free to come and buy the drinks.
That's true. So we're talking about John McAfee, who is always entertaining. He's always, doing something ridiculous and hilarious. And his most recent press coverage is coming from ccn.com, where he is claiming that the U.S. Department of Justice is compiling a bogus case against him for money laundering, racketeering, and murder. And he says that if they continue to come after him, he's going to dump information about the government that he's been collecting. He says he's going to start by naming names and specifics, including a corrupt CIA agent and 2 Bahamian officials. And then he said further, if I'm arrested or disappear, 31-plus terabytes of incriminating data will be released to the press.
Wow.
It's a lot of paperwork if it's like, like documents.
Yeah, well, where did he get it from is what I want to know.
And what's if some of it's like that big, what's he been doing with it?
He's been holding it.
I wanted to ask, so like Ian, if let's say you had the knowledge that say like a prominent politician in Keene was corrupt, was taking bribes, would you keep it to use, as maybe not blackmail, but as like ammunition to defend yourself, or would you immediately go on the air and expose them?
It depends.
Oh, it's relative. Oh, well, that's
to
a very,
me,
very,
yeah,
very
that's
tricky
a strategic. That's a strategic question. I make no bones about being a news personality, or I describe myself as an activist, and so what you're getting with me. You're not getting unbiased coverage so much as you're getting a view from a point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I give.
Well, it's good to be honest about that.
It is.
According to the story months ago, McAfee dared the IRS to come after him. So according to CCN.com, it's hard to make sense of McAfee's incoherent tweets, but basically he warned the U.S. government that he'll fight back if they keep pursuing him. If it's true that federal agents are trying to hunt McAfee down, it's presumably because he admitted that he hasn't paid taxes for almost a decade. This is another tweet from McAfee from January. He said, quote, we declared our independence from Britain and fought a bloody war to escape burdensome taxes. Yet here we are, less than 250 years later, being burdened by income taxes that are more crushing than anything the British dreamed of.
Hear, hear.
Free yourselves. I totally agree. And we've said for years, some of us here on Free Talk Live, including me, that I haven't paid taxes in many years. And that was before I became a minister. I'm a minister now, and certainly, people who are in churches shouldn't be paying taxes. But prior to that, back when I was not, calling myself or being a minister, I still didn't pay taxes as of I think 2004, and that's because I don't want to support murder, and I don't want to support war, and I don't want to support imprisoning peaceful people, and I don't support the agencies that do those sorts of things, and that's the federal government and the state governments as well. If I could avoid them, I would as well.
Well, when you say you don't pay taxes, does that mean like if you're having a meal?
It means I don't pay.
You don't.
It means
give
I don't
money?
pay the income tax. Okay, because that's the one. You can't avoid the sales tax. You can't avoid the meals tax. There's certain taxes you just can't avoid. Generally, if you want to have, if you don't want to live out in a cabin in the woods in the middle of nowhere, then to some extent you're going to be paying, whether it's gas tax, whether it's a cell phone tax, or whatever. Obviously, they're going to get you everywhere they can.
Agorism is the way to evade income taxes. Buy on the informal market
as much as you can, for sure.
Well, McAfee gives, I don't know if it's in this article or another one, he gives a list of reasons of why he doesn't pay.
I believe there is a list coming up here. CCN reported in January McAfee confessed in a stunning tweet storm that he hasn't filed a tax return in 8 years. Why? Because he explained, and then he gives 5 points. Taxation is illegal. He says, I paid tens of millions already and received nothing in services. I'm done making money. I live off cash from McAfee Incorporated, and my net income is negative.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, if he doesn't have any income, then he doesn't. And that's what I was going to ask, is the only thing that he could owe is capital gains, and that's only if nobody's paying capital gains on their crypto that I know of. I certainly haven't.
Well, that's
I don't
the thing.
pay income tax either.
He is saying here that he didn't file a tax return. And generally the government is going to...
You don't have to file a tax return in a year in which you earned no income.
Are you
Has
sure
he had
about
a
that?
Job?
Is that tax advice? Are you a tax attorney?
I'm not a tax attorney, but I am certainly I am certainly. I mean, children are not required to file tax returns. Why? Because they don't earn any money. even though things are given to them, they don't earn any money. They don't have to pay
I suspect
anything.
the IRS would agree with you on children because they are probably exempted by some statute, but I think that the IRS would argue that you have to file a return every single year.
I worked as a child since I was 15, and they would withhold income tax, and they would give me W-9 forms.
Did you know that Alexander the Great was 15 when he took over an army and led it across, from
well, good for him. If there
was
was an army around here that I could take control of, just point it to me, Rich, please.
No. I'm not. I'm just saying 15 is hardly a child.
Well,
I'm saying legally, right? Legally, a child. That's what we're talking about.
What you're saying doesn't contradict what Rich said. Rich said that if you're a child and you're not working, then you don't have to pay taxes.
Oh yeah, it's because you don't make enough. I believe that was the.
But I think that at some point, the government believes that you just need to file paperwork with them, no matter what you're doing. That's why they have.
You may be right.
That's why they have a charge called failure to file.
Right.
It's
well,
a charge.
generally, it's a failure. I think failure to file though requires that you earned $600.
If only Melanie were here, she would know. Our Monday night co-host is a tax
I'm almost
professional.
certain that you don't need to file if you have no income, though. That doesn't
Well, and
make
income
sense.
is a legal term anyway. If you look up income, it's a legal, it's in the world of legal land. All these words have very specific definitions. And, income is something that is very specifically defined by the federal government. I don't have its definition
Well, not
in front
only,
of me.
well, I'll tell you how it starts. It starts with a circularity. Income is defined as any income from any source derived. I don't remember the rest of it. But
So it's self-defined.
Exactly. It's a circular definition, which is meaningless.
Yes, it is.
So, they're not going to tell you what income means.
Exactly. And so, look, I don't care what their definitions say, honestly. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is they're a violent criminal enterprise, and it's a moral objection, first and foremost.
Well, what matters to me is, as a stoner, they declared war on me in 1972, and I just think it's the height of chutzpah to expect me to pay taxes to a government that is actively trying to hunt me down and make war on me.
Right. Why would you want to fund the war against you?
Well,
I would be literally waging war against myself, and that's what I'm going to say if they ever sue me for tax evasion.
We got more coming up here.
Pay you for being at war with me.
This is Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019. It is Free Talk Live. You may join us here in real life only if you come to Forkfest at Forkfest 2019 at beautiful Rogers Campground on what is mostly a chilly day. We did have a bit of sunlight there for a moment. The wind is kicking up now, and some days up here it's super warm, super hot, and then it can get a little chilly. Especially at nighttime. So definitely either way, bring some warm clothes up here to Rogers Campground for this event. Ian, Rich, Paul, and Vincent in our remote studio outdoors on the campground here at RV Site 59. By the way, I want to tell you about My Magic Mud. This is an amazing product that is black tooth powder. That's right, it is completely black. It's made of charcoalized coconut shells and bentonite clay, but yet it's clinically proven to whiten teeth. Now, it was here at this very campground years ago where we met the creators of My Magic Mud, Jessica Armand and her husband Justin. And they were selling this back when they were making the product in their house. They have, they're libertarians. They're people who love liberty, and it was actually this campground, the Liberty camping event known as the Porcupine Freedom Festival, where they kind of got their roots put down into the liberty community. They were early advertisers with Free Talk Live. And now they're a much larger company. They employ I don't know how many people, but it's a factory of people, and they're sending their product out to big places like Sprouts, CVS, Natural Grocers, and Walmart's Natural Beauty aisle. You can get My Magic Mud at those places now, including most health food stores as well. It's a great product, and I use their toothpaste. Actually, I brought it with me here to the campground. And you can get yours. It's not just toothpaste. That's actually one of their newer products. It was their powder that was what started it all. You can go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL20. That's 20% off at mymagicmud.com. Code FTL, like Free Talk Live. Code FTL20 to to get that discount. We've been talking about John McAfee here, and we're going to continue because he's always got something interesting to say. Whatever it is you feel about John McAfee, he's always got something entertaining to say and something that he's doing that is worth following. And now he's saying to the federal government in the United States, back off, or else I'm going to release 31 terabytes of data that he claims that he's been collecting over the years.
Hey, John, they've already killed millions of people. Just if you got something that'll get rid of them, get it out there as quick as you can before they kill you.
Well, he's saying that if they do kill him, that's definitely when.
Well,
like
the
he has
thing
a dead
is,
man switch.
maybe that will work and maybe it won't. If you dump it to the newspapers today, it will.
The thing with John McAfee, though, is you never really know what to believe when he's saying things.
And yeah, I don't. What I say is also to some extent a challenge.
Sometimes he's just trolling. Sometimes he's just BSing or whatever. And I remember it was like a year ago. I think it was last summer that he announced that he was going to have I forget the name of it, but it was basically going to be McAfee bucks, where he'd come up with his own paper currency that he was going to offer, and it was backed by an hour of his time. So, or maybe it was a minute of his time.
Yeah, we've had, that's called a time exchange. It's been tried in history.
Sure, but it never actually came out. So,
right.
So he made this big to-do about announcing these McAfee bucks, and I think it was maybe a minute of his time. But anyway, so if you collected 60 of them or whatever, you could get an hour with John McAfee. And so he had they looked pretty. Like he'd hired a graphic designer to make the some graphics to show what these things were going to look like. And the claim was that if you wanted to redeem these notes, you had to come to Mexico, where McAfee was living at the time. So you had to come to him. And there was like a redemption center that he claims he was going to set up in Mexico, and you had to come to the redemption center, and then
this
they
sounds
would
like an elaborate joke. But
oh yeah, I mean it basically was. I mean but he was acting like it was serious, like he was promoting this as though it was something that was actually going to happen.
Well, maybe he wanted to see if it was going to take off, and then it didn't. I've floated lots of ideas that, I'd like to try this. And if nobody is interested or that interest isn't expressed,
you put it aside. Sure.
Like resources that'll allow me to proceed, then I'm not going to do it.
And I guess, you're right. And maybe he's just floating ideas publicly and getting people excited about things that never end up coming to fruition.
Well, it sounds like he put some interest into it. And I mean, obviously he lost some money on it. Or it sounds
well, now
like
he's promoting another McAfee cryptocurrency. So this wasn't going to be a crypto. It was just going to be, hours of his time in a paper form. Now he's announced isn't it called like the McAfee Freedom Crypto or something like that?
No, I don't know the name. Every time he's shill, I just stop paying attention.
Yeah. It's because
I don't stop paying attention to him. It's just McAfee's all over the place. He's kind of crazy. He's an erratic dude. He's going to come up with some ideas and he's going to run down some paths and then he's going to say, "Hey, that's not a good path. I'm not going to go down that." And as an engineer, you have to do that. See, to some extent, he thinks like I do. It's like I will start something, and sometimes you get halfway into the program and you realize, oh, well, gee, unfortunately, there isn't enough computing power in the universe to solve this particular problem, so I'm going to have to put this aside. And that's a normal part of engineering. Not everything comes to fruition.
There's more from CCN.com's story about McAfee saying to the government, leave him alone or he'll release 31 terabytes of data. It seems that, McAfee posted the tweets while sailing around his yacht in Cuba. Here's another tweet from McAfee. And he's drinking heavily, right? Like because
he's McAfee.
Yeah, when you see pictures of him,
mess with his dogs.
He's always got like a bottle of liquor in one hand, right? Like in a lot of the photos, especially the ones on his boat. So here's what he says, quote, "Leave me the F alone or go down with the corruption you have embraced because I will effing bury you if you continue. Doubt me at your own effing risk." And here he's talking to the U.S. federal government, goons. You just got to love this guy. It's unclear how McAfee reconciles his desire to be left alone. Now, by the way, this is obviously editorializing on the part of CCN. So it says here, it's unclear how he reconciles his desire to be left alone with the fact that he's running for president in the United States. In January, McAfee announced his presidential bid several weeks after proudly declaring that he's a tax evader. Unlike his rivals, McAfee has an unexpected slogan: "Don't vote McAfee."
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
He's stealing your ideas, Rich.
Well, not really. I was just thinking it would be interesting if somebody endorsed McAfee in exile as being the true president in exile of the United States. That's what they did with Maduro's rival. That's
right.
what Trump did with Maduro's rival. So, okay, I'm going to officially recognize John McAfee as the true president in absentia of the United States on his yacht. I pledge to you, John, my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor if you can get these pigs off my back.
John McAfee, our president. Going on here, like many Bitcoin enthusiasts, McAfee is a libertarian who believes in small government, unfettered political freedom, and personal autonomy. Let's see, McAfee candidly confessed that he has no solutions to the nagging problems that plague the United States. Moreover, he insisted that any politicians who claims they have answers are lying. We'll continue with more. Your calls and thoughts are... Oh, wait, no calls. We can't take calls. Never mind. We're here live. We're live. Semi-live, at least. We're recorded live here at...
we don't know what we're doing,
at Forkfest. It's going to get better over the weekend, too. Trust me. I want to tell you about my favorite cryptocurrency wallet, Edge Wallet, at edge.app. Edge is the wallet I use more than any other, and that was true long before Edge Wallet became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. Edge Wallet allows you to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and more. It's available for both Android and iOS, and you can download it via the Play or App Store or via Edge Wallet's website, edge.app. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet. It's Free Talk Live. We're here at Forkfest 2019. You can go to forkfest.party to learn more about this event. That is a decentralized website, meaning that anybody can start a Forkfest website. I just happened to start one. But you can do one, too, if you don't think mine's that good. And I'm not saying it's the best, but it's there. That's the nice thing about Forkfest is nobody's in charge. There's nobody here to tell anybody else what to do, besides, I guess, the campground owner. But he's pretty hands-off, all things considered. In fact, I saw him driving away when we were pulling in here tonight. He's a nice guy. We'll pull Crosby over here when we get the chance, and if we see him walking by, which I'm sure we will, at some point here this weekend. By the way, joining you today, because we are recording in the afternoon, and it's a chilly one here at Rogers Campground, I'm Ian.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
I'm Vincent.
And Vincent, you a little chilly over there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just wearing a T-shirt underneath.
Are you really?
This German surplus poncho.
So we're here. We'll continue talking cryptocurrency because that's been the theme here throughout most of the day. There's one more quote, I think, from John McAfee in the story from CCN, which I think that stands for Cryptocurrency News. I've never actually found that out. But let me go back to that story from CCN. It's about John McAfee basically challenging the federal government goons, saying, if you keep coming after me, I'm going to release 31 terabytes of dirt on your politicians. And then when talked about being a politician, when talked to about being a politician, because McAfee is trying to get the Libertarian Party's nomination for president, for their presidential nomination, and that's not going to happen, I think, until like a year from now, basically. So it's going to be a while before the Libertarian Party decides who they want to be their candidate.
I think it's going to be, the convention's going to be sometime in May in Austin.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there.
You're going?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, you poor
I'm going to go to
bastard.
6th Street. I'm going to party it up. It's going to be Austin. It's going to be great.
It's a fun city to visit.
Visit some friends in UT.
It's a fun. I enjoy visiting Austin. I wouldn't want to live there, though.
I'm going to try and track down Alex Jones.
Good luck. He didn't respond when I was there. I sent his producer an email when I went there last year for a crypto arts festival saying, hey, I'm in town. Because we've had Alex Jones on the show in the past, and we've been on Alex's show. So it's not like I was coming in starting at zero. And I sent an email to his producer, and they never got back to me.
I'll just camp out at the Golden Corrals, and eventually I'll find him.
He likes to show up there?
No, it's just like, the greasiest Texan type of food I can imagine.
There was some bar or some restaurant he went to where he got heckled out of the place, didn't he?
Well, he got heckled as he was leaving.
Oh, was he?
No,
Okay.
no, yeah, but you're right. He was, but that's his reason for like he decided to leave. It's not because they were doing it. He said they were like screaming and yelling and just harassing him.
So, back to McAfee. He has confessed he has no solutions to the problems that plague the United States and insisted that politicians who claim they do have answers are lying. Quote, "Do not ask me about immigration, foreign relations, education, etc. I have no idea. Those claiming that they do are lying to themselves, or if not, they are purposely lying to you." And he's right. And that's what people, that's what people do inherently know about politicians, but they keep, for whatever reason, every 4 years they just sort of put it aside and they just buy into whatever crap they're spewing.
Have you read Atlas Shrugged?
I have not.
There's a character in it who makes a point of being a playboy, named his name doesn't matter. And it turns out that it's actually the reason that he's doing this is because it's his way of going on strike. And I wonder if that's what's going on with John McAfee, if he just realized that, the game was so rigged, there was no point in playing anymore. So he's just going to literally play.
I have no idea, but he is fun, though. He certainly is fun to watch and entertaining, and I expect the entertainment from John McAfee will continue. For however many years that man has left on the planet, he will continue, because he's in his mid-70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and he's still in good shape.
Long may he wave.
I hope so, too.
I'd much rather him have another year of life than Clinton or Trump.
Absolutely. So that's the story there from ccn.com. There is more that I have, though, about cryptocurrency. We're here freezing our butts off at at this episode of Forkfest 2019. We're going to tell you more about this event as it continues to develop. There's really not much to say. There's not many people to talk to. We've had a few folks stop by and say hello, and some of our listeners have dropped in, which has been cool. And I suspect we're going to see more of you guys when you come by and see us here at Rogers Campground. You can still reserve your campsite or RV site or motel room if you prefer, and come up and join us. There's a whole weekend to come, and in fact, we're going to see, I'm sure, more food vendors showing up, likely as probably by Saturday would be my guess. We're going to see a handful more at that point. But it was like you were saying earlier, Rich, we don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and the thing is, the one thing that I do know to expect is that there are going to be people up here who want other people around. So even if you can't afford your own campsite and you're thinking, oh, I'm in New Hampshire and I wish I could go, but I can't afford, $72 a night or whatever they're charging for a site.
No, it's only $29.
Yeah, 72 is for an RV spot.
Okay, that sounds right.
So but just come. We'll find a place for you to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's always worked here.
Bring your tent. You're not crawling into bed with me.
No.
But we'll find a place for you to pitch your tent.
The right person could crawl into bed, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of perverts.
Ask twice.
You never know who you're going to meet at Forkfest.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yep, exactly. So let's continue here on more on the cryptocurrency world. There's some other not so good news, and we talked about John McAfee, and that's entertaining for sure. On the downside of things, there's apparently new regulations that may be coming into play, according to Bloomberg.com. I have never heard of this group, but apparently there is the Financial Action Task Force. Have you heard of them?
Sounds like something out of a G.I. Joe cartoon.
I hate them already.
Yeah. According to the story here, Bitcoin and its fellow cryptocurrencies have surged in popularity, partly because they've offered a way to skirt the government oversight exercised over traditional financial systems. Well, get ready to kiss much of that autonomy goodbye, according to Bloomberg. Now, is that true or not? We'll find out. But on June 21st, the Financial Action Task Force, a multi-government effort that develops recommendations for combating money laundering and financing of terrorism, which is, of course, what they always, put around all these various different money laundering programs that, we got to stop the terrorists.
Even though the government's the number one money launderer in the world.
The number one terrorist in the world as well.
Well, yeah, it steals everyone's money and then, puts it through and puts it to their own purposes.
Well, right, and terrorism, when you look up the definition of it, is the use of violence to achieve a political goal. Yeah, that's what all governments do everywhere. The Financial Action Task Force is meeting later this month, and it's apparently their recommendations are followed by 200 countries, including the United States. They will publish a note that will clarify how participating nations should oversee virtual assets, according to their spokesbureaucrat, in an email.
So this is what they frequently do when they want to make a move. It's like incredibly unconstitutional or shady or illegal. Is they do it through treaty first, just to get people, just to put the groundwork in. It was like that with the war on drugs. The U.S. adopted the UN plan for it. It's like that with firearms. Oh yeah. It's absolutely globalism.
I didn't know that came from the UN.
Absolutely, yeah.
The new rules will apply to businesses working with tokens and cryptocurrencies, such as exchanges and custodians and crypto hedge funds. Much depends on how the rules, long governing traditional bank wire transfers, will be interpreted and applied by country-specific regulators, but they are, quote, one of the biggest threats to crypto today. This according to Eric Turner, who is a researcher at Masari Incorporated. He says further, their recommendation could have a much larger impact than the SEC or any other regulator has had to date. So the question is, guys, and we can address this coming up here in moments, is this going to kill cryptocurrencies? Will the 200 governments of the world teaming up successfully be able to stop this? We're coming up here. This is Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. We are freezing.
We're tired. We want to go home.
I'm not tired.
I don't want to go home.
But I want to go somewhere warm.
Absolutely.
Like the cool bar down the street that takes cryptocurrency here that started taking crypto last year during Forkfest. And I spoke with the owner a couple weeks ago. She says, sadly, no one has spent cryptocurrency since last year. And as I understand it, there's now a new group here in the North Country, a new crypto meetup group, and they told me they will actually likely be scheduling some meetups at said bar/restaurant. And so they do have some very good food. It's a little pricey, but then again, you're in the middle of nowhere, so good food is probably going to be a little bit pricier. But you can actually pay for your food and pay for your drinks with cryptocurrency, which is super cool. So that's probably where we're going to go immediately after this. And it's Ian, Rich, and Vincent in our little remote studio at the LRN tent at Site 59 here at Rogers Campground for Forkfest. Go to forkfest.party where you can learn more about this event, which hopefully will be warming up as the weekend goes on. By the way, I do want to say thank you to Robert Mayer, who is a Free Talk Live amplifier, for supporting what we do here on Free Talk Live through the AMP program, and also Jay, who is a silver amplifier with the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote, and the idea is for $5 a month, you can help support Free Talk Live getting on more radio stations around the country and bringing the ideas of liberty and peace and cryptocurrency as well to radio listeners across the United States on now over 200 radio stations. So thank you to Robert Mayer and Jay who are helping support that. You can join the AMP program over at amp.freetalklive.com. It's ampamp.freetalklive.com. You can do it with Bitcoin BTC. You can do it with PayPal and also, of course, credit cards. So head on over to amp.freetalklive.com. Now, the Financial Action Task Force, according to Bloomberg, is plotting to destroy cryptocurrencies. They have 200 countries that will enact whatever bureaucratic nonsense that they come up with. And can they do it? Can they take down crypto?
Individual cryptos, yes. Can they take down the concept? No, the concept is an idea. Ideas are bulletproof.
Well, they can't even really take down individual cryptos because, like with Bitcoin, there's 10,000 nodes. How are they going to stop all 10,000 of them?
Well, I mean, they don't necessarily have to stop all of the nodes. They have to stop it from being a viable system or stop it from being useful.
Right.
And then because the value of Bitcoin is based on Bitcoin being useful.
Good point.
So anything that stops it from being useful, if they made it illegal for bricks and mortar shops to take the stuff, then that would change things. Now, you could still use it on the internet, and they can't entirely shut that down, but it would be relegated to a smaller market segment. Then again, it might do better in that market segment if it wasn't trying to cater to corporate interests and incorporate KYC and all sorts of nonsense.
KYC means know your customer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's for the best that cryptocurrencies in corporate America go their separate ways, which is what the effect of this would be. You know, you're not going to stop the guy who's selling weed for crypto from taking crypto by making the crypto illegal, because the weed's illegal already. You know, but you know, that's not going to get you necessarily, but Amazon.com will not take it. Microsoft will not take it if it's illegal.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, definitely having it being available in exchanges makes it easier for people to access it. And if it's harder for them to, to get their digital hands, if you will, on crypto, that could affect the price. It will definitely affect the availability. If you have to buy it person to person, it's going to be a lot harder to acquire it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is a mining problem. I mean, if they made the declaration that the entire concept of crypto was, if they just made it money laundering, which they could do by simply passing laws,
they could.
They could
That's
say
scary.
the whole thing is a conspiracy to launder money, so we're just going to outlaw the whole mess. If that happens, then it's definitely problematic. Problematic for us, because any miner it would be like starting the war on crypto as like the war on drugs, and it would have to be fought by the same means, and a lot of people would be killed, a lot of people would go to prison.
Here's some more information about the story, or about what they say may happen. They say the guidelines will require companies. Now, I don't know how they know this, considering the meeting hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen on the 21st of this month, but they're saying the guidelines they come up with will require companies ranging from exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken to asset managers Fidelity Investments to collect information about customers initiating transactions of over $1,000 or 1,000 euros, as well as details about the recipients of the funds, and to send that data to the recipient's service provider along with each transaction. I don't even understand how they can possibly accomplish this, given the way that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies work. With Bitcoin, it's a public blockchain, meaning the blockchain is the ledger that is this decentralized ledger that's behind everything, behind Bitcoin and behind a lot of these other cryptocurrencies. When I've got an account on Kraken, and I've had an account on Coinbase and a lot of these other exchanges, and when you withdraw from the exchange, you're giving them an address and saying, I want to withdraw to this address. They don't know what the address is for. They don't know if the address is for your personal wallet or if the address is for somebody else's wallet. They have no idea. How are they going to find that out?
Well, it may well be that the whole intention is not to, because it may well be that what they want to do is usher in their own crony coins, where it's like
everything's controlled and monitored.
Exactly. Everything is built to be controlled and monitored. And that's the business model that is promoted by Ripple. Everything is controlled and monitored. So how do inferior products make it to market? They have the government take out the superior products. Right. And that could be what's going on here. This could be the beginning of the attempts to regulate the crypto market into only the cronies make money and not the nobodies.
While that may sound simple, according to the story, compliance will be costly and technically difficult, according to the chief compliance officer at Bittrex, which has about $58 million worth of daily trading volume. After all, wallet addresses on digital ledgers are anonymous. That's the point I just made. So an exchange currently has no way of knowing who the recipient of the funds is.
Well, the answer to that is don't use an exchange. Buy your Bitcoin from your buddy. Sell your Bitcoin to your buddy. there's a lot better ways than going out and trading on these exchanges.
So here's what Roth, this is, again, the Bittrex chief compliance officer. Here's what he says. Quote, it's either going to require a complete and fundamental restructuring of blockchain technology, which is what you said there, Rich, the idea of, well, if we can't have Bitcoin on here, we might as well have FedCoin.
Right.
You know. Or it's going to require a global parallel system to be sort of constructed among the 200 or so exchanges in the world. You can imagine difficulties in trying to build something like that. That sounds incredibly scary and Orwellian. Wow.
And the thing is, nobody would use it.
Everyone would have to use it. It's like in Sweden, many places are cashless. So that's just like, obviously it's not much, but it's a step towards that. Mm-hmm. And everyone has all these different credit cards. Soon it's going to be like only one system, like a government cryptocurrency.
That's what they want.
Exactly.
One world government.
Yeah.
One world currency. Yeah. I mean, essentially, this is it does seem like they're trying to push crypto out, but that is essentially going to kill these exchanges. I don't know what they're going to do. I hope that it's hard to really say exactly how this is going to pay out, but.
Again, the answer is decentralized.
Right.
Exchanges can be sued.
And there are decentralized exchanges that have been coming out. So this may move more purchases to those decentralized exchanges because right now the existing exchanges are convenient, right? Like they're there, they work pretty well. It's not that hard to get into them. But if it becomes much more difficult to get into them and it gets to the point where, well, crap, you can't even use Bitcoin or you can't buy Bitcoin on the exchanges anymore. And then you got the decentralized exchanges like BISC, B-I-S-Q is one of them, saying, oh, hey, we're over here. You can trade here. Nobody's in charge. That would be the way to go.
Is, who needs an exchange? Why not just send a tweet saying, I'm looking to sell some of this?
Because that's public.
Well, so you're looking to sell some of it.
But if it becomes a crime, in order to do that.
Now, if it's a crime, that's a different thing. But right now, it's not a crime to independently trade. And even in their scheme, it sounds like it would be only the exchanges that would really be participating. Or is that not the case?
It looks like they want the exchanges are apparently, according to the story, already discussing how to set up this sort of global parallel system. This according to somebody, the attorney for Kraken. So this is some scary stuff. We don't have time to get any further into it, and there's really not that much to know yet. They haven't actually come out with the official rulemaking nonsense. So this is one to keep an eye on for sure. We'll see you tomorrow. More from Forkfest then. Go to forkfest.party in the meantime. It's Free Talk Live.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event. Even with coupon code FTL50. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTL50 for a discount.